Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the major MCE-D5 cylinder drive cam for Corbin Russwin cylinders and removable core housings. What is this? Well, let's talk about it now. This is what Major has. I don't think they're the only people in the world to have ever made these. I have a faint memory of having seen this material much earlier in my career, but they have a system by which you can take a stock cylinder, something you've got on the shelf, and within a reasonable amount of time, by doing some drilling, some tapping, you can create a longer cylinder. So if you need a 2 3/4 inch long mortar cylinder, and I just ordered some yesterday, 2 of them actually, you can make that. If you have an 1.5 inch, well, you can do it other ways, but let's say you're starting with a Caba Ilco 7205. That's an 1.5 inch long. No, actually I think that's 1.25 inch. Whatever their part number is for 1.5 inch. It's 72 something. If you've got an 1.5 inch long mortar cylinder, you can add an 1.25 inch long extension to it and get to 2 3/4. Now, why in the world would you need such an unusual cylinder? Well, there's lots of reasons. Such as, I said that I just ordered some actually. They were actually 2 3/4. They were technically 2 7/8, but they're best. So I ordered best 2 3/4. Best mortise cylinder housings don't incorporate in the order size the thickness of the cam where everyone else does. So why do I need these? Well, I've got a Caba Ilco 45 series double cylinder deadbolt. The door is 4 7/16 thick, and when you take from 4 7/16 and you make the modifications that you require to determine your net cylinder length, you get to about 2 3/4. So that would be 2 7/16 of an inch, subtracting out about 1/8 of an inch for the area between where the 2 cylinders, I don't want them to touch, so I deduct 1/8 of an inch out of there. I will add to that, well, what I'll do is I'll take 2 7/16 of an inch and I'll deduct that 1/8 of an inch, and then I will divide that by 2. So let me follow along as I'm saying this. 4.4375 minus 0.125 divided by 2. Then I'm going to need about a 1/2 of an inch for the fact that the cylinder trim ring of the 45 series itself requires about 3/8. Then there's a wave washer inside of there. Let's figure about 1/8 of an inch. And then you add that 1/2 inch, you're going to be at, basically 2 11/16. I also ordered with that 1/8 of an inch collar so that they could build that off ever so slightly, plus 0.125. Yeah, so we're at 2.78 inch. So 2.75, 2.78 is perfect. I bump into that often. I bump into unusual cylinder lengths so often that I stock from Major their cylinder extensions. They're machined brass. I don't have any near me, but I'll show you in the catalog what they look like. So I stock all that stuff. I also stock the driver. You have to stock the driver for those as well, because without this, the cylinder extension is of no use. You need a driver and you need a cylinder extension, or maybe multiple cylinder extensions. What would you... Major has 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, 1 inch, and 1.25 inch. I think those are the 4 lengths. Well, what if you needed a 3-inch cylinder extension? Well, you want to start with a stock cylinder that's in a reasonable size. 1 inch, 1.8 inch, 1.25 inch, 1.5. But what if you needed that 3-inch? Well, if you've got only 1.25 inch and you got to get to 1 3/4 inch, you're going to stack 2 collars on top, 2 cylinder extensions on top of each other, and I happen to stock longer machine bolts for doing all that. So I'll put 2 extensions on there and then my long machine bolt to hold it all together. In that case, you'd need both cylinder extensions, but you'd need 2 drivers to make all that work. And that's what this is for. And I could go on and on about the application of longer cylinders. The other one that I'll mention to you is when you have not only an unusual door thickness, but the lock is not centered in that unusual door thickness. So that 4 7/16, what if I was biasing that towards one side or the other? I might be able to get away with a standard cylinder on one side, but then I need an especially long cylinder on the other side. I think the longest that I've manufactured is about 4" in this way. There's a job in Hawaii where they had a gate, an unusually thick gate, but they were installing an Adams Rite bottom rail deadbolt in this, but they were biasing it much closer to one face where I could use a standard thumb turn, 31 32nds, 7/8 1" thumb turn, but on the other side I needed a much longer mortise cylinder for the keyed lock that was going to be there. Let's switch to the screen view and let's show you all the supporting information. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Okay, here is the driver that we're looking at. Let's look at some images I've taken first. That's the packaging, meaning that's what you're going to get when it shows up. You're going to have the driver. You're going to have 2 sets of machine screws, and the instructions will show how that's supposed to go. You'll need all of these parts. The people at Major have carefully engineered this to a point where if you have any parts left over, it may not work the intended way. Remove from the packaging. This driver does include some special instructions, and admittedly I've never extended a Corbin Russwin mortise cylinder housing, but it would be no different than anything else really. Mount one of the 2 brass washers on each of the 832 machine screws. They are used as a spacer between the factory cylinder and the MCE housing. Okay, so my guess, and you'll figure it out when you're trying to put it together, my guess is that you're going to use the longer screws here, and that has to go underneath here would be my guess. And it could be because they couldn't machine this any deeper would be my guess. This one here and here. That's my guess. I've never done it, but that's the bet I'm going to take. Extended description information, cylinder drive cam, Corbin Russwin. Not included in extend a cylinder kit. I'll show you what that means in a moment. Proper length cam screws included with the driver. Driver will work for all extend a cylinder length kits. I'll show that to you. There really isn't a kit. There was the drivers, there was the extensions, and then they make a fixture for helping you actually do the work. Completed extended cylinder requires the use of a Kaba Ilko cam. Yeah, let's talk about that. I think what they're saying there is Kaba Ilko makes cams, and I typed in, you're looking for 863G-00-10, and from this page you'll be able to find this chart of all of these cams. So if you're looking for Corbin Russwin, you're probably going to be dealing with the typical 863S. What I believe Major is saying is don't forget to buy one of these because you're going to need it, because the cam that will come with the Corbin Russwin mortise cylinder housing you won't be reusing, is what I gather. The original manufacturer's cam, there you go, no longer fit. When you buy one, we'll ship you one. Now this is a video of me converting a 1¼ cylinder into a 2¼ cylinder. If you want to see the process, there you go. I've done it a number of times. This video is a bit older. My desk was far less chaotic than it is today. Product brochure, let's take a look at that. Yeah, this is the business end of everything here. So let's just start. the fixture is here. I do own this fixture. I use it. I've never tried to freehand one of these. I would definitely not suggest you try to freehand it at all. The machining location of these holes in the 4 different extensions are precise. They are spot on. If that hole that you drill in the back of the common cylinder that you can see in this video is not spot on, you're going to fight with getting that in. You will dream these holes out is what you'll end up doing, and it doesn't work really nice that way. So the fixture is the MCE-100. I think I have that right. MCE-100. Nope. Yeah, right there. MCE-100, extended cylinder guide. You can buy the drill bits and the taps separately. I've done at least a dozen of these, maybe more. I've never had any problem with the drill, but you're drilling into brass. I always use thread cutting fluid every single time. I do have a backup bit and tap. I've not needed to get into that inventory. Then you have the 4 extensions that I've mentioned. Then the drivers, not included, are on the second page. So an MCE-D5 is that Corbin Russwin version. That's going to look like it does right here. I believe they may be showing that upside down. Yeah, they may be. That might be shown upside down. It's going to look like this when it's all said and done. Easy material. I only have worked with the MCE-D1, which is for Kaba Ilko cylinders. I know that I could do Medico. I wouldn't extend a Medico cylinder unless I needed to. I don't bump into Sargent or Aero often, nor do I Corbin Russwin. GMS IC, I've sold their GMS's IC mortise cylinder housings. I haven't had a need to extend them. GMS standard, I would just use Kaba Ilko. That's me. Obloy Protec, I most certainly know what that is. I have a Protec cylinder in my collection. That is an extremely exciting piece of lock technology that you should dive into. Extreme high security. Yale, I don't bump into that. ASA, that is like the Schlage Primus. That was patented in about the late 80s. Sidebar technology. Schlage large format IC, I've almost needed to do that a couple of times. But the bottom line is, I'm doing Kaba Ilko. The bottom line is when you look at the cost of extending all of this material, it adds up. Most certainly if you're stacking 2 of these, because you need 2 extensions and 2 drivers. That will end up being an expensive cylinder when you're done. And then of course I had mentioned earlier about me doing it. Then it's my time on top of all the material. You can, admittedly, if lead time serves you, where you have several weeks, you can order cylinders from the factory, possibly less expensive. Now, where this material comes in is the crucial problem, lead time. No one has any. So yes, cost has to become secondary when you're looking at, I need cylinders shipped in 3 days. I did a job, the one I always remember, an apartment building in Manhattan, and it was a Schlage FG keyway, polished chrome, 2 1/4. I wonder if it's the video seen here. Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to go over a you have to install the drive cam. It's not. This is not the job. So we'll just use the real but the bottom line is the client required, and with the drill, polished chrome, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, whatever it was, Schlage FG keyway. So I was able to knock those out in a couple of hours, and within a week's time or so, the client had all of his material. The day was saved. I was able to use well, let me just tell you what I used. opening up the Kaba Ilko book. I was able, whatever length cylinder I used, probably 1.25 inch, 7205. And by the way, that 1.5 inch, 7245 or 7246. I was able to use a 7205, and then what I did was, and it's not ideal at all, but it was understood and okay, a composite keyway, the SX, and that takes all of the Schlage Classic obverse keyways, and all of the Schlage Classic obverse keyways can be seen here in the cylinder and key blank reference guide on the Schlage page on our site, and they're kept right there. Those are your classic obverse keyways. Client needed FG, so we just went up with that SX. And not ideal, and that's a different conversation why it's not ideal, but nonetheless, that's how it was accomplished. So you've got your drive cam. You do need to order a drive cam. You can't, you know, it's more than just the extension. You need the drive cam as well. But once you understand it, there's three components. There's the fixture, there's the extension, then the drive cam. If you're going to do this without the fixture, I say Godspeed. If you expect to do extended cylinders more often than you might realize, this is an investment that is worthy of the commitment and capital. Now, there's a link below this video, as seen here, to the manufacturer's page, and from here you can pull up not only all of the major products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. And suffice it to say, this catalog is absolutely full of locksmithing security hardware. Well, security hardware that security integrators, locksmiths would certainly use, but it's also full of other fixtures and guides. If you need a template for installing dozens of different types of locks, you are absolutely you're very likely to find it in this catalog. Down in the last 50% of the catalog. There's your HIT 45. That's a clamp that goes to the edge of the door onto which you can screw a faceplate for doing a mortise pocket. You can attach the function hole templates that are there. No doubt it's really the way to go if you have to mortise doors, frames out in the field, and if you believe in templates, you believe in the value of them. You know, if you've got one lock to do and you'll never do one again, you might sidestep the cost somehow. But if you get into doing lots of doors or more than just one, you might want to consider a installation system as detailed in this catalog. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, if you have any questions on the MCE-D5 driver for Corbin Russwin, or any other major product, please feel free to reach out to us. I will leave you with the knowledge that Major is a simple, straightforward, no-nonsense outfit. Much of everything in their catalog's ready to go reasonably quickly, let's say within a week. We are forever increasing what we keep on the shelf here to make sure material keeps flowing right on out the door, that kind of thing. Very high-quality material, manufactured, engineered, designed, conceived, designed, engineered, built, shipped by people who really understand the integration of commercial hardware products together and the pitfalls that your average installer will encounter in the field. As the primary gentleman at the factory said to me, there's nothing like a guy with lots of field experience to be able to figure out the problems that field installers encounter, and that is indeed the genesis of how a lot of the products came to be in the Major line. Any questions on this or any other Major product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.